So myself, the TheOGSwagPanda, Taylor, or rxylaT, Kodie Collins, the Concealed Gamer, got together over the weekend and put together episode 1 of what we have affectionately called The State of Affairs. It covers all current events, happenings, talking points, things like that throughout the Division world. This one did go a little bit long. We was only expecting it to be around 45 minutes long, but unfortunately this first episode runs into at least 2 hours long. But I do recommend that you stick around to the end, because I think all the talking points that were brought up throughout and all the different responses from all the guys taking part are certainly worth listening to. If you guys have got any opinions on the points that were discussed, then please feel free to leave them down in the comments below. If you did like this content, even though it did run a little bit long, please give us a thumbs up. And if you do disagree with the content or some of the responses, please don't just give it a thumbs down. Let us know down in the comments below so we can strike up more of a conversation. If you did truly not like it, then obviously give it a thumbs down. If you want to see more of this stuff from myself, TheOGSwagPanda, Taylor, Concealed Gamer, Kodie, and others within the Division community, then consider subscribing. My name's been Cal. You guys have been absolutely amazing as always, and I will see you guys in the next video.
All right, sweet. So obviously the first topic of discussion is going to be the current lag and the sort of the netcoding and desynchronization problems we have in the game. Servers are bad, but netcoding and lagging seems to be an issue that's been consistent since the very start of the game. You've got people that do the whole chicken dance to confuse the server about your location to sort of avoid hit registration. So what is your guys' take on where the current game stands with regards to lag issues, and is it actually something that needs to be addressed really importantly, or they're currently ignoring it and just continuing bringing patches and patches? Is that the better way of going about it?
Who wants to start?
I don't mind. I've got.
Yeah, let's start. All right, let's start with Carl.
All right. So the three things that you mentioned then: lag issues, netcoding, and desync problems. Unfortunately, I think 2 of them we're stuck with. I think we're stuck with lag to some degree, and I also think we're stuck with the netcoding that we've got. I can't see massive investing in any resource, money, anything like that into sorting out the netcode. It's possible, but I think it's highly unlikely. The desync problems, I think those have been the bane of a lot of things, which people are just clustering together and calling lag. And as we've seen from like recent patches, they are trying to do something about it. You know, they're absolutely trying to fix things and get things in a better spot. I don't think they've fixed the majority of the issues, because I'm still experiencing it even after the latest patch. But
there was
I don't know. I mean,
there was a few things that they said they would be patching with regards to desync, which still seem to be an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they don't sort those, then I don't think we're ever really going to see a better performing game than we have currently now in terms of like player movement, hit registration, and things like that. Because all those 3 things together are what we collect, or what the average gamer would collectively call lag. So until those things are reduced to some degree, I think people are always going to be in the Division game chat every state of the game going lag.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know you, Concealed, have had a lot of problems with the lag and the desync and the netcoding. So what's your sort of take on it? Because obviously with you guys being in America, your servers are going to be a bit more...
I've been constantly putting other servers other than my own. Like, I'll be in Brazilian servers and all that. But I just think that's the #1 problem for me as playing the game. I think that's what's pushing personally me away from it, and other players as well, because of all the problems with it. Because if you look back at 1.5, I didn't notice, like, the only time servers would be really bad is if the whole server was there, just like using sticky bombs and stuff like that. But it's gotten so bad to the point where if you're fighting just one person, you'll notice how bad, like, they're just running in place, or the random burst damage that you're receiving from them. I just think, from my perspective, that's probably the #1 problem. Once they fix that, then they could add as much content, because how they're doing it right now, they're just adding more and more content, which is ultimately going to affect the gameplay of it, or the servers as they are at the moment.
But do you think
patch after patch, I think they've just gotten worse and worse?
But do you think it's a sort of it's a situation where they're trying to bury their head in the sand and just shine some new just put out some new stuff in front of our face to make us forget about the fact that there is lag issues and netcoding.
Definitely. I think that's what they've been doing this whole time. Like I said, 1.5 I think was the last update which the servers were fine. Ever since 1.6, I think they just went to hell. So I just think they need to change their priorities up with fixing desync and all that stuff.
Do you mind if I come in here? Because like,
I don't know.
So you said it's the whole like pushing more new shiny things in to distract us.
Yeah.
I kind of have to disagree with that opinion. Like, no hard feelings whatsoever. But
Yeah.
You got to take into consideration like they want their game to do as well as possible, right? And if like somebody that wants new shiny things is just getting an update that like slightly reduces lag or slightly reduces some desync, it's not going to want that player to play more. I know it's a crazy thing because being at the ETF, we literally sat down and he writ lag on the board in a massive cycle. We spoke about it for about 3 hours straight, and it's in my opinion, like I can see why people think that 100% because lag sucks. It really does, but I just think that's not the case, and it would be better if it was worked on 100%, and hopefully these next couple of updates, let's say we get 1.7.2 or something or 0.3, I genuinely hope that they do work on this and try and get a sort for it 100%.
See, I think it comes down to there's always going to be a difficult balance between keeping the hardcore fans and the casual fans happy. Obviously, the casual fans are the ones that want more new content at a much quicker pace. The hardcore fans are the ones that want more fundamental and core changes to be changed and to be sorted out and fixed in the game. So it's always going to be a bit of a difficult sort of balance between keeping both sides happy. Now I know you play on the PS4, don't you, Kodie? So I mean, what's it like? Yeah. What's it like on the PS4 then? Because Xbox is bad, but I've heard that PS4 is slightly worse.
Well, in all honesty, like it has got worse over time. I kind of like notice these things quite easy, and they do kind of stress me out. I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes down to like small problems that interfere with the game. But straight away after we noticed the last patch, which basically said a lot of desync issues are fixed, I logged on, struggled to log on, which is a different issue. That's server side and everything like that. But I logged on, and then straight away I was having desync issues and things like that. I've actually done my homework on this subject and looked into basically everything regarding the Division's servers, and there is some bad news relating to it all and things that they could look at, but I don't think we're going to see any drastic changes. I mean, on the subject, I just want to say, of course, Taylor, of course, being an insider person at the ETF, gets to see all the behind-the-scenes stuff. But for everyone else in the gaming community, like we were mentioning before, it just kind of feels like it's getting ignored. And that's why I feel like we need a bit more like behind-the-scenes kind of insight. I mean, without a doubt, Ubisoft and the massive team have been absolutely brilliant. They talk to us and show us through everything that's going on behind the scenes, but I think we need a bit more clarity and a little bit more detail as to what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely. I think we need more transparency overall. It's probably the best way of saying it, because there are some things that they do neglect. But I do gotta say that lately, ever since actually 1.8 dropped, so the PTS drop for 1.8, I have been seeing devs, especially on State of the Game, starting to be a bit more transparent. I mean, you look at the last one, not the last one, sorry, obviously the last one was just like 5 minutes long. But the one before that, where Petter actually talked about the fact that they know that there's issues still ongoing, they know that there's problems ongoing, and that they are working on it. So that's good to see that they are starting to become a bit more transparent about the fact and not just sort of completely neglecting it. Like on stream, if you watch some of the State of the Games, I think 90% of the people are just always complaining about something, and they seem to neglect that and more or less just focus on 1.8 and stuff like that. And to an extent, that's understandable, because obviously they've got a set amount of time to put that podcast out in, and they want to get everything that they want to talk about. But at the same time, it used to be a situation where they really wouldn't address the main issues that people really wanted to know about. It would just be something about the next patch coming or the next update or the next global event. But now it seems to have shifted to a point where they are starting to be a bit transparent.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, like any game, it's a business. So, like rxylaT was, like Taylor was saying before, it's a case of like you need to bring in new content to actually bring more people in to make more money and keep people happy. But at the same time, you need to also balance that with fixing things and making everyone happy. And I can't imagine how difficult it is for them to do that because, you know, I've got no understanding of how difficult it actually is. But you can kind of respect the fact that they are, I guess, trying to do it. It's just when the curtains are closed, you don't really see anything other than the end result, and it kind of just gets frustrating.
Definitely.
And just to go back to what Conceal was saying before in terms of things are getting progressively worse, I would agree with him. But I will also say I massive agree with him as well, because I don't know whether you remember the notorious State of the Game where Matt Higby came on and he was talking about you know the pedo caches, the gambling caches, whatever you want to call them. Yeah. But he said in that specific State of the Game episode, you know, like I think it was, I'm going to paraphrase now, but it was something along the lines of the more stuff that we keep putting in the classified gear, the global events, the servers get worse. So I think they know that the more activities, whether it's content, whether it's stats or whatever it is in the background that needs to keep talking back and forth to the server, the more things that they continue to put in, it seems to be getting steadily worse. So I think. I think basically what I'm saying is I agree with what Conceal was saying before in terms of it's getting worse, or from a perception point of view, it seems to be getting worse the more things we get added to the game. And that's a bit of a shame, but I hope it's a trend that they can get hold of and remedy somewhere, whether it's fall off of players so they can reallocate resources to other servers. I don't know, but something, in my opinion, needs to be done because people are leaving, and even. I'll not call you out in here, but I know one person in here has been on Twitter and said, I'm not sure I can support this if this carries on. So I think I absolutely do think they need to do something because it is. I think Taylor said then it's what everybody sees. It's that I'm going to call it just lag, but all these things together lead to that sort of suboptimal experience that people are getting right now.
Definitely.
So I think it definitely needs sorting.
I mean, I don't know if you guys ever sort of had this experience, but for me, every time I ever played Last Stand, and you would be in the map where you're in sports though, that would be the laggiest place ever because it was just completely filled with Seeker Mines and fire turrets. So the lag there would be absolutely awful, purely because of how much stuff there is going on in that sort of small area, especially around B checkpoint, I think it was.
Yeah, definitely.
So
even just walking out of the checkpoint and just walking out and seeing all the frame rate shortage and all that, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I don't even play Last Stand. Like, I enjoy the game mode. It's so unbearable I don't play it, and it's a real shame because, I mean, to be honest, all of this podcast so far to people might sound like we're just complaining and bickering about things, but of course, this is well, at least for me, this is like my passion. This is a game where it's got everything I want. It's kind of like a shame, you know, that it's being ruined by.
Yeah, exactly. See, this is where I have recently started to. I wouldn't say dislike. I think dislike's a little bit too strong of a term, but I'm starting to grow a bit of a conscience that the casual players don't really like to hear about people bitching about the game. It seems like they just want new content and they want people to shut up and play, but they don't realize that obviously it's the hardcore players that understand the game just that little bit better and that sort of know what's going to be better for the game for its longevity and sort of moving forward.
Yeah, I think they may be making it even more confusing for the devs to realize what the major issues are in the game.
Exactly.
Because sometimes you get these people saying, "Oh my God, the servers are horrible," and then you get these other people saying, "Oh, I've never seen any problems with server
people
lag."
Saying,
and stuff like
that much of a big deal, but to me, I know
fix your internet. Like I have 350 Mbps and
problems to have lead on other problems, and it does see more attention being given to the small, like as that big, you know.
Kodie, you're phasing in 8 for me.
Yeah, Kodie, your connection's dropping out a little bit, man.
And
we seem
really all the time.
we seem to have a little bit of a problem here. Does someone want to type into Discord and let him know?
So how many? Yeah. I think it's just that's the worst thing about it, really.
Oh, okay. I think we might have sorted it out.
I don't know whether you could hear us again now, but that literally that entire last part where you just spoke, then you was like, like you made none of it.
Sorry, can you hear me again?
Yeah, we can hear you again. All right, so I think now that we've obviously talked about that, we can move on to point number 2, and that's: do we need dedicated servers in this game? Is that going to be the solution for a lot of the problems?
Actually,
they do have dedicated servers, but I remember reading somewhere that they chose to go for really cheap ones that weren't nearly as effective as some of the ones that they could potentially have, and that could have potentially saved a lot of problems that we are currently having, i.e. lag issues and netcoding and stuff.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of research into this, and it was confirmed on a blog, ub.com, the division behind the scenes online gameplay, which I can provide links to in the video description for you and things like that. But this was basically an article back in May 2016 where Hamish spoke to Anders Holmquist, the technical director, and he did confirm that they've got dedicated servers, but it doesn't always mean that, these dedicated people seem to think dedicated servers mean good servers compared to like all the other peer-to-peer and things like that. But there are a lot of things behind the scenes as well. And I've actually recently watched a netcode analysis video with the division, and there are unfortunately a couple of main factors which are causing problems. And the main things that I found were basically there is a delay of 1.4 seconds between two players that even have like really good internet connections.
I think Marco made a video on this as well, didn't he? Or at least he posted a tweet about it, showing that they're...
He's done that a while back, actually.
Yeah.
I'll provide a link for you as well. I'll provide some information on this for you afterwards.
Sounds good, buddy.
In the video description for anyone interested.
Sounds
but basically, it goes into detail about how basically they don't use a UDP protocol for communication with the game server, and this causes basically like time isn't an urgency; it's more about accuracy, and that the division's using TCP. Then basically they've also got like a recently tweeted out lag compensation is way too high. So basically you can shoot someone, they can go into cover, but then it'll still register for their bullets and things like that. Then you've got all kinds of server problems going on and stuff like that as well. I'm not an expert on it, so I'll just leave the link for the video so you can see and to explain it all. But
I think
you kind of see all the behind the scenes stuff and kind of realize like there are some problems there, but can they do anything about it? And that's a question that I can't really answer because I'm no expert.
I think Taylor might be able to answer that for us there because he's been trying to get a word in.
No, what I was going to say is the more I think about it, when I said to Conceal that like I disagree with his point, I shouldn't have really said that because I don't experience lag anywhere near as much as you guys do because I avoid PvP like the plague. The only time I've enjoyed PvP is when I played Skirmish.
You never want to play.
That's the first time. So
please never PvP.
Sorry for saying that.
Never PvP because
that's what I was kind of going to because a lot of players, you got the PvP players and then the PvE players.
Yeah.
And where the lag comes in effect the most is of course the PvP because that's when you're fighting other players. So I think that's where the confusion comes into when you got the PvP players complaining about lag, and then you got the counter of the PvE players saying I never lag.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Fix your internet, stuff like that. But it's definitely a problem.
I fully understand. It's frustrating as hell, though. I fully understand that.
Does anyone here did anyone ever play on PC at all?
I play PC now.
Division. Do you think that the lag is somewhat better? I mean, is it more?
It's nowhere near what it was on Xbox, and it's nowhere near what I see when I'm watching PS4 streams, at all. It's bad. It's still bad. It's nowhere near
intolerable.
Nowhere near what you guys are. Yeah. Well, sometimes it is, but like I would say, 8 times out of 10, I have very little issues with like what we'll call lag. Like nowhere near what I see on other people's streams, especially when they're on PS4 and Xbox.
Yeah.
That's not to say it's like a PC console thing, because it's not. But like you said, the question to like the PC players is, do you see it as bad? No, absolutely not.
Another thing I'd like to cater to, it's controversial, but do you guys think that the devs are just paying more attention to the PC players, even though I'm pretty sure the console fan base is a lot bigger than PC, since they're always basically siding with PC players, and
who was I?
They're always getting the short end of the
stick. I was talking about this with someone on this podcast. I think it was you, Taylor, on your stream, where we were talking about PC and console players, and yeah, I think we came to the conclusion where it was about 60-40, I think, in terms of player base size. Now, I myself, I'm a console player. Like, I've never played PC. Like, I mean, I to this day use a fucking 5-year-old MacBook. So, I think yeah, shut up. So I think I don't know. I mean, the only sort of way I can see that being true is obviously PTS always being delayed for consoles as compared to PC, but obviously that is purely because the division needs to get permission from Microsoft and from Sony, so that takes a little while. But
that as well, because most of the big voices in the community, I would have to say, are the PC players.
Yeah,
for example,
definitely.
Style, like Butter, Skill Up, and stuff like that. And for a while, I'm pretty sure it was in 1.6. Yeah, when console had a horrible that hipfire lock on.
Yeah. I remember that. The shotgun lock on.
Most of the problems on console that are different from PC, and they just fail to acknowledge that because of the exposure that doesn't really get out there.
Yeah, I mean, on the other hand, I just want to add that it is quite important to note that, with the first PTS that came out, they were PC only, and they did make a push to actually have console PTS. I mean, it does suck as a console player to be having to wait for them, but as you said, that is down to PS4 and Microsoft and stuff like that. But you've got to at least be a little bit grateful that now that these are available to us. They might be taking a while to come through, but we do get to test them. And I do fully agree, like, PC problems are totally different to console problems.
Yeah.
And even like PC, for example, as you'll know, like builds are completely different. Like the way console players play compared to PC is totally different due to the aim and everything like that. So totally agree with that, but we've got to take it with a pinch of salt, I think. Really.
See, I actually had questions set up to obviously ask people at the end of it. But since we're on the topic, one question I actually got in was whether there needs to be a different balancing scheme for consoles and PC. Because obviously the current way is whatever changes come in PC come in the consoles and vice versa. So does that need to be a different sort of balancing scheme for both PC and consoles?
I think. Go on, Cal, you go for this one.
I think so. Primarily because of the whole aim thing. I don't think, as a whole, the game fundamentally has to change. All the stats can remain the same. What I do think we need to, especially as content gets harder, that's like one of the biggest things out there. As content gets harder, and aim becomes so important, because if you're leaving NPCs roaming around, or you can't burn down that shotgun that's running across the room to you because he's moving so fast, that's detrimental to the actual player experience itself. Now on PC, 99% of the time, I have no issue with that. I can track them very well on the mouse, keyboard, and I can land those headshots, which will burn them down a lot quicker.
Unless, of course, you're Taylor.
Trying to do that, yeah, but try to do that on a controller where you essentially have to move like 2 sticks and buttons to like jump in cover and shoot. It's hard. So I don't know how they would go about it. Maybe they give the NPCs a little bit less health or a little bit less armor, or they make the damage that when you actually land a shot be a little bit more. I don't know what the solution is.
I mean, one thing I want them to change. one thing I would want them to change is the NPCs. They move like the Flash. I mean, a shotgunner will catch up to you from 50 feet behind, even if you're running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is important that I don't think it's going to happen, by the way, because we're towards the back end of Division 1 now.
Yeah.
But I would like to see them look at this for Division 2, because Bungie are doing it with Destiny. That's why we haven't even got a PC release right now. Consoles are getting in it first because it was a console game primarily.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're getting like a PC version of it, and I think we're seeing the sort of the inverse of that with Division. Division was, I think, originally developed to be a PC game, and then obviously somebody looked at it and thought, this is an amazing game. I'm sure we'd all agree. And then it was like ported, and not a bad port. I'm not saying it's literally they'd build for PC and then they throw it on console. I think they do try and make allowances for the console player, but again, without changing the fundamental gameplay, especially when it comes down to NPCs and movement and things like that, I honestly can't see anything changing in Division 1.
Fair enough. All right, so obviously now that we've been through the lag and the servers and all that, so now what we've got is 1.8 dropping. I think we're expecting it to drop about sometime mid next month. Would be the consensus, I guess. So
at least, yeah.
So we've got Resistance stats coming in now. I've not got to play the PTS because obviously console life. But you both, you and Taylor, have definitely got to play it. I've watched most of your streams as well, and kind of abused Taylor on every stream.
I was going to say, I kind of wish you'd never watched my streams.
But
Really.
so what are you guys thinking about Resistance? I mean, do you think it's definitely a good thing that it's been added, about like the fact that it's a horde mode? Does that make a difference, or do you guys think that it could have been done a bit better, or what would you have liked to see come through?
I've got.
Sorry,
Go on.
Go on. No, go. You go, Mark.
I was just going to say, this update is kind of like the best of both worlds, right? We're getting something for me, horde mode.
Mm.
We're getting something for the PvPer, which is like straight 4v4 all-out PvP, and then we're getting something for both, which is the new area, which everyone has been saying for like months now. Like, just throw in the ship; it's already there. All right, so like, I think it's an update that's like a update that's nice to the eye, if that makes sense. Like, everyone can look at this and enjoy it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It pleases everyone if you look at it without being salty, right? Because some people still want like Central Park, Upper Manhattan, or whatever you call it, when that was never really going to happen, right? So I think it's a great update, and I think it's got a lot of what people wanted.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I mean, go on, Cal. You were next in line.
No, so I was just going to say, in terms of like Resistance and the map expansion, I think it's great because we were told for, and again in air quotes, which you can't see on a podcast, but for the year 2 announcement, which was never a year 2 announcement, they said there was going to be no map expansion, no new content, and this is both of those. I think I'm really looking forward to getting it on live and being able to like grind for. Probably still the same type of loot that we've all been grinding for, but having a new PvE activity, really, because beyond the legendaries, which have always just been harder versions of things that we've had for a long time, we haven't actually had any new PvE content since Survival and Underground, maybe, and certainly nothing that looks like we can just literally jump in and do 10 minutes, or we can jump in and do an hour. So I'm super hyped for Resistance.
I actually posted a tweet about this, just to get some sort of opinion. Obviously, I don't think this will ever happen, but a lot of people have been completely hyped about the raid system in Destiny, and I was wondering if some kind of system like that on Division would actually be quite good, where you get a 4-man team. You spend 2-3 hours going through a really sort of big long raid of getting some of the best loot, and the more you proceed with it, the better the loot gets. And at the very end, you get like say 2 classifieds or two exotics. And I think I got about 100 150 votes on that. I'm not sure, and about 80% of the people actually really like the idea of a raid system on Division. So, do you think that this is the type of game where a raid system would actually make sense?
I mean, they tried it. They tried it with Stolen Signal. That was probably the most raid-like activity that we've got.
Definitely.
In Division, like full stop. Multi-phases, different mechanics, where you have to do something in a very specific way. That's exactly what Destiny's raids are like. You know, you've got logic puzzles that you need to do, and once you know them, it never changes. That's what Stolen Signal is. I think they could do it. I think they went to probably a little bit too far with the difficulty of Stolen Signal. I know what
I think I've done it about 3 times. I think I've done it about 3 times and then just completely left it.
Never looked at it again.
Yeah.
So I think if they did something that was probably a little bit more linear rather than just phases, and that was along those lines, because I didn't mind the other 3 rooms. I don't really have an issue with. I think one of them's just all like hell. The studio one.
It was the electric room that always got me.
Yeah. So I think I would like to see more raid-like activities, and if they do that for Division 2, I'd be really happy, because I'd say I play both sides of Division. Love my PvE, love my PvE builds and things like that. But equally, I still get like adrenaline pumping through me when I'm manhunting the DZ. So like, I would love to see raids, and I would love to see some sort of more player-friendly raid, though. So it's difficult to long, but it's not like smashing your head against a brick wall. So I think where we ended up with, even on PC with
Stolen Signal.
The thing with like a raid is, I've not played it on Destiny. I bought Destiny 2. I kind of see it as a waste of money because I've not played it since release week. But like with a raid, you get this like really awesome gear that shows you've completed this. Yeah.
Mm.
If you lock in gear that's really good behind something a solo player can't do, then it's limiting that player.
Yeah.
And also like the appearance, like in Destiny you can get away with it because it's like this fantasy, like not real thing. You're not going to see like a dressed up SWAT guy go into a mission and come out wearing a unicorn hat at you. So like they've got to try and keep it that like Tom Clancy feel.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like raids didn't make it, because locking a reward behind something like that would have divided the player base, whereas Destiny, like, it's expected.
I don't know. I'm not too sure on that, because I think it's not down to. So this may sound like I'm good at calling them lazy, but I'm not. But like the way that Stolen Signal was done was that we look at the same loot that we've always had, so you still drop any type of loot that you can get elsewhere, maybe except the sort of exotics that are locked to or were locked to specific locations. But there's no reason, in my opinion, that they couldn't come out with a raid-like mechanic mission, and the loot that you get is, and this is what Destiny do, the loot that you get from that raid helps you in that raid the next time you play it. So it's all cosmetic and it looks amazing, but once you've done the raid and you get that loot and the talents on it and the attributes on it and maybe the 3 and the 4 piece, they make that raid so much easier as you go on.
I mean,
I think that would be.
And I mean, they don't. Yeah, they don't even need to have the raid on all the time. What they could do is always link it with a global event, where the last 2 days, for example, of the global event is where the raids happen, where you get the most drops, the best drops, a lot of GE credits, and so on and so forth. So they could keep changing the raid along with the different global events that we do get. And I think that might be a really smart way of attracting a lot of players into it as well.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing.
I think just on the subject of like raids and things like that, just going back to hard mode, of course, I just want to add that I haven't played the hard mode, but I'm not really a PvE person. I love PvP, but I do enjoy like a challenge. Like I'll play survival just simply for the challenge and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it does get challenging,
especially if it's rewarding. Like I do my survival for the weekly assignment to get my exotic.
See, Stolen Signal is a perfect example of that. Stolen Signal was very difficult. And I think the first time I ever played it, it took me about an hour 40.
It's too difficult though.
Yeah. So it took me an hour and 45 minutes to do the first time I ever done it. I think the fastest I ever did it was an hour and a half with my team, and that's after multiple wipes. Like, I mean, I'm talking, we probably ran that mission 100 times. And in the end, you just get the exact same loot that you get if you were to do anything else. If you were to go out and kill Bullet King, for example, he might drop the
Sky in 5 minutes. Or
exactly.
Take into account for how much time the things in the game are taking to complete, so they could base the loot off of that. Because survival, if you're doing like a good game, it take probably like an hour or so. Because there's probably less players now, so probably like 40 minutes. But you're spending 40 minutes and not getting that much good loot, and then you're spending hours on the incursions just to get the same exact loot that you can get from a dark zone or something like that. So I think they just need to put better rewards for.
So there needs to be better RNG. Better RNG. So if you ever were to introduce a raid system into the game, you would want to introduce it with better RNG. So you want to reward them with, like, say, 3 classified pieces or a cache of classified pieces.
Yeah, I mean, I personally would like it to go back, and this is really going to be unpopular because I know a lot of people on Reddit and on Twitter were like up in arms when it was the old style of loot. But I would much rather, so I know where I need to put my time investment on any given week.
Yes,
that they rotate the loot. So like 1 week Falcon Lost drops Sentry and something. Clear Sky drops Tactician and Final Measure. It basically rotates around. Every reset we get the new incursions. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then going back to that time investment thing on Stolen Signal, I have no idea, given the amount of time that it takes to do those rooms, why each room doesn't drop like 6 pieces of loot. You know, like it is when you complete Falcon Lost, which is easy. It's chill. You can do that on autopilot. But like smashing your head through those rooms to then get one high end and a gear piece. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's definitely ridiculous.
This as well, and like I said, would we be able to go back to that? It was really, really good. It's something like, if you're looking for that last piece of Lone Star, let's say, I can go and run Lex, and I'm guaranteed Lone Star drops. Or if I go and run Russian Consulate, then I'm guaranteed Striker drops. That's what I loved, and one day I'd love to see it back. Honestly, would.
Yeah, the whole game's kind of just gone a bit random, I found. Like, I've been playing, of course, since the beta, like most of you guys, and it's gone from where you can know what missions you have to do for what loot, and where currency used to be more important. It used to be where you needed to build up your currency to get the items from the vendor.
Yeah.
Now currency's not really a thing.
I mean, I've got like 800 million currency now, and I think people like Marcus Dahl, he's got like 1 billion plus.
Same. And I remember tweeting out to Frederick Thailander, and he was saying, well, the money grind's the worst type of grind. And yeah, it can be, but at the same time, at least you know what your money's going towards, if you know what I mean. Like, where it's at now, like you just said, like, I've got more money than I can count, and I can't remember the last time I thought, I really need to save up some money to get this weapon. I mean, I've always got enough money.
Yeah, for me now, money is just purely there to convert into Phoenix credits by buying random caches.
And like you were saying, oh, sorry, go on, right?
I was just going to say, it's weird you should say that, because I've recently started PC, like, not too long ago, and I don't put enough time in. Like, a lot of people think I put a lot of time in, but I don't. And playing the PTS, when I was doing the optimization, I realized that I had to, like, go and grind some stuff, sell it, to get the money to then go to the optimization station.
Yeah.
And it was really weird, because, like, I hadn't experienced that for ages.
It's fresh.
I don't have millions of credits piled. I don't have 5,000 Phoenix credits. So actually going off, spending half an hour, rotating some missions, selling the gear, and then going back to the optimization station, it's like, damn, why is this not here anymore?
See, I think this is just another one of those situations where casual players get divided by hardcore players. Obviously, for me, because I've been playing this since the beta, or even since the live release of the game, I've just been collecting funds and funds. Obviously, this 800 million odd isn't what I've made right now. It's what I've made over the span of 1.5 years. But since you've actually brought optimization up, obviously, let's just get into talking about optimization. Now, I posted a video about this a couple of days ago, which actually got me a little bit of hate, I'm not going to lie. A lot of people
to me as well.
Community as it is right now.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying that I was taking the side of Like Butter, but I mean, I definitely wasn't, because obviously Like Butter was on the side of this is going to completely ruin the game. Skill Up was on the side that this is good for the game. me, I was kind of more in the middle, saying that this is good for the game, but it does need some balancing changes. Obviously, in terms of how many times you can roll a gear stat, or how many times you can roll a certain piece, or even perhaps charging people more each time they re-roll. Because obviously there is a system like that in place already. Like you see with weapons, you see with gear, you get charged a bit more each time you re-roll something. So I was saying that's probably going to be the best way moving forward with optimization. So what's your sort of like what do you guys think about optimization, and do you think there needs to be changes?
Before you all jump in, I'm gonna have to be that guy and say I've got to head off, unfortunately.
No problem.
Yeah, no, it's been great meeting everyone, and we should do this again.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. All right, guys, I can't wait to watch the final product, and I'll speak to you all soon. All right.
All right, see you later. All right, see you later, P-Beard.
I really hate you.
Had to be said.
It had to be said.
Later, guys. Thanks.
See you later, buddy.
Take it easy, mate. So what was the question?
Optimization. Do you think there needs to be a balance in optimization, or it's fine the way it is right now?
I mean, go on, Conceal. You haven't.
Yeah, I was just gonna say before we just get into it, I'd say if someone just explained it a little bit for those that don't know that about the optimization. Because me personally, I haven't looked into it that much. Okay, so basically, you've got a vigorous chess piece, but it's got horrible rolls. It's got the right rolls, so you've got the firearms, you've got the skill haste, you've got the health, you've got the ammo capacity, but it's rolled really horribly. So now what you do is you take it into your optimization station, and you spend 50 diff tech, is it? I think. Per roll,
250,000 credits.
Yeah, and 200. Yeah, so each time you re-roll, all the stats get buffed up. So, say you start off at 1800 armor in your chest piece. Each time you re-roll, that'll go up by about 30 or 40, up to the maximum of 2003, I believe, is the cap for armor. Yeah, so. But it doesn't just do that for armor. It'll do that for your firearms. It'll do that for your skill haste, for your health, for your ammo capacity, so it min-maxes your build out completely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got an issue with it, but before I say, well, no, I probably should rephrase that. I've got probably the same opinion that you have, Panda, in that I think it's good for the game, and I think it's good for casual players, but I also think it's, in another breath, I think it's bad for the game, because the game's all about grinding. So like any one of my builds, any one that I run, pretty much 90% of the time that I'm playing, which is either PvE or my PvE build, PvP or PvE build. Now I've min-maxed those over time, and yes, I'm a hardcore player. I'll hold my hands up. Like I've got a lot of time to try and grind these better pieces. But equally, if I didn't, and I could literally just get a less than average piece of gear, and I could say, okay, well, it's got there's one stat wrong, so I'm going to go to the recalibration station first, and I'm going to correct that stat. Or if it's a classified piece, I can go to correct 2 stats on it, and then I go to the optimization station, and I spend 50 div tech, which is like you get that 82 exotic caches, or you can get that on a decent run and go and collect your caches in the DZ, and I'm going to put 50 div tech and 250,000 credits towards this, and I'm going to press the button, and every single stat on this, including armor, which you can't roll anywhere else, is going to be improved. I think that is, in my opinion, is way too strong. I don't mind having something in there that allows us to make our gear better, but I think having one button with a reasonably expensive roll cost tied to it. Basically, if I roll that several times, I then get a god roll piece of gear. I don't think any looter shooter should have that at all. I think the looter shooters are about the grind. It's about saying, all right, well, I'm going to go in the dark zone today, or I'm going to go and do this, and I'm going to try and get this exotic, or I'm going to check what the Liberator roll is this week because I need it to be better.
Yeah, exactly.
Having this is, I think it might. I mean, for me, where my builds are almost perfect now because I've ground those bits of gear out. I can't imagine what the pull for me would be to go if all my gear is almost god roll, and then using this optimization station makes it absolutely god roll because there's like It's up in every single stat every time I press the button. I'm worried that it will drive me away because I won't have anything to grind for.
Yeah.
In terms of keeping it in, I think it should be kept in because I think we should all be able to improve our build if we don't have the time to grind, or we're not, because we're beholden to RNG. We never actually get that to drop, which has been the case for me with certain pieces of gear. I've never had a ninja bag drop. I've had to be given, even the amount of time that I play, I've never had one drop. I've had to be given all mine. So I think having something in that allows us to improve our gear is important, and I think it's good, especially where we are with like being at the almost end game of the division right now. But I think I'd be more comfortable if it cost me 50 DTech and 250,000 to roll one selected stat.
Definitely.
And even Armour, if we want to continue doing that, but not every single stat gets buffed up. That to me just seems stupidly strong right now.
I just think it's their attempt to try and to balance out the game, kind of like how they did with Last Stand, how they're min-maxing all the gear and they want everyone to have that fair chance. I think that's what they're trying to push towards, and I think they've been catering to casual players at this point in time, which I think is kind of the wrong move, since I think
it's
the away all of the hardcore players.
And it's the hardcore players that are going to be the ones that stay through the patches.
Just gonna basically guide them through all the stuff that the hardcore players have already been grinding for to get all their god roll pieces and all that sort of stuff. When if you're jumping on the game right now, all you have to do is just farm division tech and you'll be able to optimize it fully. I just think they're pushing away some of the hardcore players and catering more towards the casual players, which I think is just a wrong move. It's towards the end of the game.
Yeah, exactly. And it's still, even now, a year and a half in, it's still a looter, shooter, grindy game. So I'm still going for the same stuff that I've been going for. And granted, we're at the same gear score that we have been for quite a while now, but I'm still going for the same stuff, but slightly better rolls. And if we make that just the matter that I have to go in and spend a day farming either the DZ or Lexington or whatever is the quickest way to get a certain quantity of loot to sell, that I can then quickly turn my. You got to remember, they said about the classified gear sets being rare and they should be the strongest gear in the game. They're going to be the required gear in the game almost because of how high you're going to be able to roll those
Exactly.
You can choose you can re-roll or recalibrate two attributes to be perfect. So in reason, if everybody can grind at the global events, and a lot of people did on the last global event, if you're lucky enough and you get those 6 pieces, and you're lucky enough that you've got an okay roll and you maybe have to roll 1 or 2 stats, you can make that gear that you just got god roll within the period of like a month in theory. Or maybe even a couple of weeks. So I'm for it, but I'm against it at the same time.
I think one thing, just touching up on what you said there, what they could potentially do is obviously so people don't feel like the high-end exotic builds are completely being neglected, is you can now make stick with the optimization station you have currently, but now not allow each stat to be optimized on classified gear. So you only can optimize one stat on classified gear, seeing as you can already recalibrate 2 stats. I think that's a better way to balance out the sort of the power between classifieds and hexos.
It may be, or even though. Sorry, Kodie.
No, go on, mate.
I was just gonna say, because I like my favorite PvP build and my favorite PvE build is hexo based.
Yeah.
I do love Sentry and I do love Strike and I do love all those other combinations that you get with, especially with the Ninja Bag now. But I absolutely love the utility of a hexo build, whether it be nimble, whether it be savage, whether it be specialized, vigorous, reckless. All those options that you get, but you also get to have all the same minor and major attributes that all the other gear sets do. So I think if just going back to that point we just said about maybe leaving hexo behind, maybe with the optimization station, it allows us on. I don't know. I've not thought this through, but maybe if we could roll higher main stats on
potentially. So if you could go over the 1273 mark only via optimization rather than recalibration.
Definitely. And it becomes super expensive as well. At that point, once you go over, it might be getting too complicated now, especially for sort of casual players. But once you go over the main stat of that, maybe it becomes I don't know, 100 DTAC and 500,000.
Yeah.
To keep increasing that high end piece of gear beyond where it's supposed to be. Because I would hate if we do get to that point where my Hexor just doesn't perform against any other build. I think that this is going to be a sad time, because you will literally be told that, okay, well, if you want some survivability, you're going to be running Nomad. If you want some damage and survivability, you're going to be running Striker. If you want to be a skill power player, you're going to be back to Tactician. Yeah. I want to play with the Hexor build still. I absolutely do. And I am on stream at the moment. I'm playing with Hexor with 2 pieces of Classified, just to try and get my stats in a region where it's reasonably respectful when I'm comparable when compared to, like, Striker or Final Measure or all those other builds that people are running right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just go back to the synchronization station?
Yeah.
We're kind of rolling towards like gear and things now, aren't we? But I just wanted to say, like, I can fully understand all of your opinions, but you do have to really consider casual gamers, for the fact that, like, they are the new. They're like the children of society, I guess, in a gay way. But it's basically a case that, like, new gamers are going to be the ones who will then come to be the main part of this audience. And I totally agree. As a hardcore player myself, like, they do not want to be pushing hardcore players away. But you can understand, for people that only play like a couple of times a week, they're never going to be able to keep up with people that can just fully min-max their gear.
Definitely.
But
sorry, go on.
With that being said, With that being said, like, I do think you need to either increase the costs or have limitations on how many times you can do it, and it's as simple as that. Because, like Carl was saying, like, if you can just come on straight away, like, upgrade all your gear, like, straight away, for me and many other hardcore players out there, it's a case of, like, you've got nothing else to work towards. And it's an RPG looter shooter. That's why you keep playing. You want to keep improving things. It's that need. But I definitely think the main thing they need to do is have limitations, because it is really good for those casual players, like, without a doubt. Like, I don't want them to suffer, because it's so easy when you go in the Dark Zone. You can just tell someone hasn't got min-max gear and you just destroy them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, without a doubt, you definitely need to consider the hardcore players.
Yeah.
It is a tricky balance for them. I don't envy the position that they're in, right? Because I don't know what I'd do, but they need to find that fine balance where it's not going to be OP, but it's also for those casual players, it's going to
I mean, one of a couple of the repeating comments that I got on the video that I did put up on the optimization station was that people are just sick of grinding now. I mean, people say that they never get decent shit unless you're a hardcore player, of course, and you grind and grind and grind and grind. So they're sick of grinding. They just want to be able to have fun on the game now. A lot of people say that grinding for div tech is going to be the grind, basically, where you grind for a currency to better your gear. But I just think that when I made the comment about potentially having a system where you limit the amount of rolls you can get on it, my argument was that, say you get one gear piece that you want to min-max, but you can't get there, so you now are going to be grinding for a better pre-rolled piece that will optimize higher than the one that you have currently. And I think a system like that might be the best way forward, because you are still going to be doing that. But I think at the same time, the devs need to work on the drop rates and quality of the drop rates. Obviously, drop rates are high, but for utter shit. Now you take that and you add an optimization station with infinite amount of rolls, basically, and everyone's going to be running around with God roll in no time because of the amount of shit that does drop. You get a lot of stuff, but not all of that stuff is good. So I feel like they've gone for optimization more as an answer to the RNG as opposed to catering to casual fans. I think the better thing to do is improve the RNG and quality of drops, and then balance out the optimization station.
It's exactly like you said. Like, I always find, like, everything that drops now, you fill up your bag in, like, a matter of hours. Like, it doesn't matter if you're playing Last Stand, going in the Dark Zone, or just farming, even the Underground. Like, you collect so much stuff, but 90% of it is trash, and it all ends up then getting sold. So then money's even worse. So that affects the currency, and it's just this. I think it's just the RNG system on the whole needs revamping. Like, they're even saying, with the new Rogue 2.0 system, we're going to now have, you know, the manhunt caches and things like that.
Yeah.
We've also recently got like extra gear when you clear a landmark, and I think in general there's just too much loot. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
there we go.
he's gone again.
Like, oh my god. Hello, am I back?
Yeah, you're back now.
You are
You're
now.
back.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
So what I was saying is, it's not a case of where back in the olden days during like 1.2 and stuff, where everything was purple and then like a gold item would drop and you'd be like, oh my god, and you'd be surprised. Now it's just a case of, oh look, another teal item. I wonder if it's any good. No, I'll sell it. And it's kind of a situation where the R&D is all just trash, and they really need to just consider revamping it completely.
Yeah.
in my
Definitely.
opinion.
It is.
If you guys don't mind me butting in, the one thing that I really find unique about this game is that the more that you participate in the game and farming and stuff, the more it's going to show, and you're going to be, you know, you're going to stand out from other players. But I just think that they need to work on making more loot like available, or just making more gear more precious. Because one of the things I liked about Destiny 2 is, yeah, you can have an exotic piece, but the thing is you can get a lower tier piece that is higher level than it. And the system they added is you could infuse it, so you can make that gear piece stronger. So let's say you get like a nomad chest piece with a really low armor stat roll, but everything else on it is nearly how you wanted it. So if you get like another chest piece or something like that, and you could infuse the armor with that nomad piece and like make it stronger or something like that, just not making it too easy to get loot, but just that much more of helping those players get their builds the way they want them to.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool, especially if they did it in a way that, I don't know, say, for example, I used the Vigorous example that we had earlier on in the discussion. You had a Vigorous chest piece that was, I don't know, 1890 armor, for example, and it had firearms, health, skill haste, and ammo. And that was your Vigorous vest. It's the one that you always run. But you managed to get a Vigorous vest, and maybe it only had maybe it had two better attributes than that. So it had better armor and it had maybe more ammo. By infusing that, you then got the
best of both worlds. Yeah, you get the best of both.
Stats, you get the better of those, because that way you could, you're not stuck there waiting for a Vigorous vest with firearms, with health, with skill, haste, and ammo. If it's got better rolls in any of the slots, maybe then that helps it.
And it makes,
I think that wouldn't make us god roll. That wouldn't make the game god roll like the optimization station potentially does. But it will give people that, right, okay, so I've got this. It's not exactly what I want, but like Kodie was saying, then the amount of and Concealed you too, the amount of crap that comes, even if it's crap and you're not going to use it because it only has 2 of the 4 rolls. If 2 of those 4 rolls could make your gear that little bit better, you then invest currency and D-Tech or Phoenix Crates or whatever to take that power out of that inferior but superior at the same time PCB into your current Vigorous.
And and it makes sense as well, because if Division at some extent tries to go for realism, that makes sense. You get something that is a little bit better than the other thing you have. You got to obviously take away the better aspect of that and put it into the newer thing. So that's definitely a really good option for them to sort of possibly, even if they don't want to look into it now, potentially look into it in Division 2. Now, just going back to actually Hexos, I got another question in, and the question was, are classifieds going to end Hexos for good? Is 1.8 going to be the end for Hexos?
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. I mean, if you follow like how the game's gone over time, it's always been a case of like with every update, there's new gear or there's new weapons, and everything else becomes less valuable. And classified, of course, it's got higher base stat rolls, and like Cal was saying with his Hexo build before, he had classified in it just to have the extra stats. And I feel like you shouldn't really be having to do that to compete. And the Hexo is without a doubt one of my favourite builds as well, especially for going rogue, because it's got that much versatility and raw damage.
Yeah.
But like with the classified gear sets that are coming out, without a doubt, they're just going to absolutely destroy it. We've got Nomad, which is extreme survivability. We've got Firecrest, which is going to be insane. And then we've got the Banshee 6-piece, which without a doubt is going to be the best for hunting rogues. So,
see, I was actually speaking to Marcus Style about this on one of his videos, and I brought this question up, and what he basically said to me was, the Hexo build is kind of like the jack of all trades. You've got survivability, which can come from the refreshed mask. You've got durability and longevity, which can come from either a rapid chest piece or the Barrett chest piece or a vigorous chest piece. You've got different elements, whereas the classified pieces are single utility. So like Predator Mark is only about the bleed damage. Fire turret is only about the fire turret.
Yeah, I see. I think I understand the point that he's trying to make there, and I'm not going to be the one that sits here and says Mark was wrong or Gillip or any of the sort of people that spend time looking at the numbers. But from, I'm going to say an average gamer, but I'm not, because I would class myself as a hardcore division player in the amount of time that I've invested. Like with the gear sets that are coming out now and that we're looking at, and granted they're on the PTS, so they're not the subject to change.
Yeah,
you've still got like gear pieces there that if you look at each one of them on merit, so like I would say a lot of people that run Hexo run it because of skull gloves.
Yeah,
definitely.
That 16% extra damage. You're getting that with one of the gear sets now. I think is it
the Predator Mark.
Which is Predator give you?
Yeah, the Predator Mark.
You're getting up towards the skull gloves. Other people said, no, I run it for vigorous. I run it so I can get overheal. Well, Nomad's got to do that now. And granted, you can't have all those things at the same time, and I think that's the argument that Marco's making.
Yeah.
But not being able, like, if you whichever you seem most important, whether you see it's the damage, whether you see it's the survivability, whether you see it's the skill power, whether it's your flame turret or whatever it is, you are just going to gravitate towards the classified gear sets. Yeah. And without a doubt, your ammo they're going to be as a Hexo player. Your skill power is going to dominate mine. Your fire power, the damage that you're going to be able to do is going to dominate mine.
Definitely.
Plus bleed and plus all those other things, depending on what you go with. If you're striker, you're going to get all that extra damage and the extra survivability from that healing. The argument for running a Hexo build is becoming, it's becoming like less attractive.
Yeah.
But it's also less viable when you start looking at those raw numbers. That an extra, what is it? Can you get something like an extra 1,000 firearms if you're running classified?
So you're doing 1273 to 1401 is the max on a classified, so it's over 1,000.
Yeah, so
times 6, yeah.
You're not.
So you're getting.
You're not going to give up those things. If you can get the same damage as skull gloves plus an extra 1,000 firearms, why are you not going to run that?
Plus the bleed damage as well.
Yeah,
I think the biggest factor is the fact that. The Hexo build isn't exactly easy to come across. Like, all of those pieces, especially if you want Colonel Bliss holster and skull gloves and stuff like that, it's not easy to get those stuff. But, they've got some of the lowest drop rates in the game.
Yeah, not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, back...
They are increasing them.
Yeah.
But it's still hard considering the fact that you can just go on and, look at the vendors for 1 week and get 2 things that aren't classified, granted.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the next global event, without a doubt, like the last global event, I got pretty much everything available within that global event.
I mean, I didn't. I didn't even play the entire global event because I was away for the first 4 days of global events on vacation. I came back. I played 2 days for I think about 6-7 hours each day, and I got all the gear sets completely min-maxed out.
And I think it comes down to a case of like you need to be rewarded. It comes down to this reward again. It needs to come back to a case of you're working towards something, and if you put the time in, you get the reward back. It's as simple as that. Because, a global event assault comes out. What is it, next week or the week after?
And Tuesday. So 3 days. 3 days? Yeah, 3 days.
And we've got Striker classified with that. I can guarantee I'm going to have full set classified within the first day or 2.
Definitely.
And that's going to be easy to achieve. And I feel like it's things like that really need to be stretched out and paced easier, because it's just making the end game way too easy.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be harder. Sorry, mate.
Sorry. What I was going to say is, in terms of the classifieds, for me, I'm not that bothered, because for me, I mean, I never PvE, obviously, unless it's global events. I'm mostly just in the dark zone. But I run with a team. where you can have people dedicated for different roles, where you can have it dedicated for 6-piece classified fire cries, you can have it 6-piece sentry. The biggest issue is going to be for solo players, much like yourself, Conceal, because obviously you are a solo player. Like most of your game videos and streams are all solo plays. So it's for people like you and for like people like Kodie and stuff like that that are solo players, where the lack of Hexo being strong enough is really going to come into play. Now, obviously, you can sort of go for the option where you get rid of Blizz's holster and get a classified holster. You get rid of Sharpo knee pads and get a classified knee pad set on there to buff your stats up. But it really isn't going to make a difference, because then there's four other pieces that are 1,000 less than the classified pieces on any stat that you have rolled onto it.
Yeah. And personally, being a solo player, I just think that the Hexo is the best for being solo, because it's for multiple situations.
Yeah.
And I think they're just making it more and more of a team game, but they got to acknowledge that a lot of the players are solo as well. And it's just going to make the experience a lot harder going up against full groups with classified gear sets that can do basically anything that it's focused on. Per se, the final measure and the fire turret build. And it's going to make it that much harder for solo players. And I don't know, I just think they need they're just buffing, they're just adding new things that are strong as hell, and they're just leaving old stuff behind, which they're not really paying attention to. For example, the Hexo.
Do you guys remember a while ago where we had like a different, the gear score was different from high ends and gear pieces? I don't know whether we could go to something like that, where all the gear sets stay at 256, but from the next global event or whatever it is, your high end pieces start dropping at a 278 gear score or whatever the next jump would be, and that allows high end pieces to attain those higher firearm rolls or those higher stamina rolls.
So
I just wish they'd use like normal numbers and stuff, because it's all just getting fucking confusing. Like with every update that comes out, the unfortunate thing is like the meta changes, different major minor attributes change, and everything. The game just gets more confusing. And
See,
got, like,
I feel like
station and everything like that. It's making things really confusing.
I feel like since 1.5, the meta has been the Hexo build. Actually, maybe 1.6. So since 1.6, I guess 1.5 was the 6-piece alpha bridge. So since 1.6, the meta is definitely. And when did 1.6 drop? It's been about 4, maybe 5 months, a little bit longer.
Yeah,
and
it feels like forever.
It feels like forever.
More variety, though. There has been much more variety. I've noticed as well. I mean, I run like 4-piece Banshee and Dark Zone to kill rogues, because without a doubt it's the most powerful thing.
Yeah.
If I do go rogue, I'm using the Hexo build. But I have seen a lot more different builds in play, PvP, and without a doubt, like balancing's been better than it's ever been. But I do think like a little bit more love needs to be given towards Hexo, because when we see these classified pieces come into play, I think maybe we should consider having high-end pieces of gear just having higher stats.
Yes. So either the first proposal that you made, Carl, was where you can optimize Hexo gear for higher made stats, or where it drops at a higher gear score with higher stats. I think that's the best way moving forward, because one thing that Division has kind of been consistent with is when a new patch comes, the previous patch meta more or less becomes completely redundant. I mean, you look from 1.5 to 1.6, the drop in Alpha Bridge was massive. I mean, people just completely stopped using Alpha Bridge. I know I tried to use it for a good month at least, saying like, no, it's still,
it was completely.
It was completely nerfed.
Getting that one extra talent and changes to the other stuff.
Exactly.
It just wasn't viable.
Alpha Bridge is still really, really strong. It's one of, if you make it right, it's probably one of the hardest hitting builds out there. But it's the metas that are coming out and the unfair advantages of other gear sets compared to what was previous. They just got to work on better balancing the gear that they're buffing and the gear that they're leaving behind.
Yeah.
The one thing I am quite glad that they've done is that Classified does not get optimized to its higher stat in last stand and skirmish. That it stays at the stat roll that you will have in with normal gear pieces. So that is one thing that I'm actually really glad that they've done, because that's now two of the biggest PvP game modes in this game. I mean, survival's there, but survival really doesn't matter, or it doesn't really count into this, because obviously survival you get gear in the actual server. But
Yeah.
they need to realize that the DZ is and always will be their biggest sort of attraction point, and the DZ is definitely where most of the action goes on, and where most of the solo players will be going into. So
Yeah.
either of those two proposals would work better. But I think now that we're sort of drifting into the conversation of geared stuff, let's talk about Rogue 2.0, because I know that there is a lot of divided opinions about this.
Who wants to start with this?
Oh man,
That's-
you know what? Since I'm a hardcore PvP player, I guess I'll jump into it. But I think the best thing about the rogue system, the way it is, and people are probably gonna be like a little hurt from this comment, but me being a solo player, I like getting that advantage on other people, and being able to take out a group of 4 with strategic planning and stuff like that. And so, like, they're going for an extraction. I'm gonna toss a grenade, take them out, basically ganking. But for me, it's solo. But this Rogue 2.0 is basically saying, "Hey, I'm pressing this button. I'm gonna kill you. Get ready to point your guns at me and
I
mow
totally
me
agree.
down." And me being a solo player, it's already hard enough. I'm fighting against lag and the entire server most of the time with shot grenades, shot turrets, fire turrets. So I just think it's catering more towards group play, which Dark
I can attest to that. I can attest to that because I've seen some of your streams where it's just pure carnage, and I can definitely see, because I mean your main point as a solo player is going to be to use the resources available to you, i.e., grenades, shot grenades, to sort of outplay them when they've got the clear advantage of more numbers, when they've got the number advantage. So a system where you now have to click to go rogue, and the second you go rogue isn't when you can start shooting them. Like, they've got a few seconds of warning, and I just think it's going to completely ruin the whole aspect of solo DZ PvP. Now, I mean, if you want to sort that out, you could just throw in a solo PvP game mode.
Yeah, I think it's mostly from players that get ganked a lot that are complaining about this, but those are the players that are asking for a PvE dark zone sort of.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why they implemented this. I just think if they added like a passive mode or something like that, kind of like they do in GTA, where you just flip on passive mode and you have nothing to do with anything, but you could just farm left and right, and it just leaves other players to be how they are. You could go rogue, you cannot go rogue, but like they just need to.
I don't know if Rogue
cater to all
2.0.
player types.
I don't know if Rogue 2.0 was more about ganking than it was about. I think it might have been more focused around stopping the whole concept of accidental rogues. I mean, I'm sure all of us have had the situation where we're going against a team of manhunts and someone just runs in your way, and then everyone that's focused on the manhunt will turn their attention to you because you're smack dead in the middle of everyone, and let the manhunt sort of run off. And it's just a stupid system, because the XP you get from killing a 19-second timer is absolutely nothing compared to the money and XP you'll get, and the satisfaction as well. I mean, it's the worst thing ever when you are in a team, or even if you're solo, and you've got 10 people chasing you down for a 19-second timer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically people are just zombies in the dark zone. They see red and they're like, shoot, must shoot, chase down. And I think they gotta get away from that mentality. They gotta make the rewards bigger for taking down like a manhunt, or surviving one, but then again, going like accidental, I think they need to they got to do more in that part.
I posted a tweet about this. I wanted to see what people thought about it, and I think what the tweet said was, it was a poll, and I asked people whether they are going to be manhunt or they're going to be bounty hunting, and I think the tweet got about 300 votes, with 78%, if I'm not mistaken, saying that they are going to be bounty hunting. So you can just already tell right now that the whole concept of going rogue and manhunt is more or less going to die, because it's just going to be the Dark Zone's going to very quickly become rogue police with Banshee and nade spamming.
I don't know. I disagree with that a little bit, because I mean, I love hunting rogues for the simple fact that feeling justice, and the fact that most, like, the way the Dark Zone's always been, it's been people who go rogue are typically not doing it just for PvP. They do it with a horrible advantage, and they'll just gank you 4-on-1 with a shock turret and the rest of it. And I don't like that. But with the new system that's coming in place, where the manhunt system's going to change, and you're not going to have to get a timer and just run all the way up the Dark Zone and stuff, I'm actually really looking forward to going rogue. Like, it's changing, the way the manhunt is completely, as well as the rogue, as well as the toggle system, the friendly fire being removed and having that toggle system. That's going to make it so much more enjoyable, because as a solo player, like Concealed will understand, if you're trying to hunt rogues, and like it was said in the gameplay announcement, if you're trying to hunt for rogues and you've got some random agents next to you, half the time you don't help, they get in the way. They'll run in front of your shots, they'll land on your grenades and stuff like that. And like, that's not how the Dark Zone should have been. We should be working together to kill the rogues. And I do really like that friendly fire feature. I think it's really, really good. But I do heavily dislike the fact that the toggle takes a second and a half and like lets everyone know, like Concealed was saying.
Yeah.
As a solo player, that aspect of, like, that element of surprise is so important.
Yeah.
And of course, they've done this to cater to the people that don't want to get ganked and shot in the back. Fair enough. Like, it's horrible when that does happen, but you do need to just, be more aware. Like, that never happens to me, because I'm always listening and paying attention.
Yeah, if you're just gonna sit in the middle of the Dark Zone on your menu while you're looking through your phone on Facebook, and you get ganked, well, it's not their fault; it's your fault. If they're rogue and they just see someone stood there, of course you're going to take the opportunity to kill them and get a higher timer.
Yeah, totally. And like Concealed said before, like, if you want to go manhunt against a group of 4 people who are about to extract, that element of surprise is so powerful. Yeah, if you're going to flip that switch and it's like, oh, that guy's going to shoot us now, like, there's nothing you can do. So I really do think you need to cater towards solo players, like Concealed was saying before. The Rogue 2.0 is amazing. I'm looking forward to it a lot, but some minor changes do need to be made. Yeah. Marco actually released a video recently talking about a lot of the things as well. You might want to put a link in the video description to that.
Yeah.
Very good and very detailed. And there were a few main things that were his concerns. One of the things is that it can be abused, because people can just leave the group, come back to a group of rogues who are on manhunt, and kind of exploit it and just basically keep getting rewards. So that definitely needs to get changed. But I also think, like, groups need to have multiplayers. Like, playing as a solo player, it's a little challenging to get 10 kills. It depends on the server. But if you're playing with a team, it is so easy, because of course you've got strength in numbers, you've got the fact that you can share abilities, share signature abilities, and the rest of it. Yeah. And if you're playing with a team, it is so easy to get 10 kills. And I think they really need to add multiplayers to make that a bit more difficult, to make things a bit more fair, and have like solo players actually wanting to go solo rogue, instead of just being like, oh look, I want to go rogue, I'm going to have to start matchmaking and inviting friends and things. So I think that's like the next stage for Rogue 2.0. But as for now, like, I think it is a really big step in the right direction, really.
What about you, Cal? What's your sort of take on it?
Yeah, I mean, I really hope that what's on the PTS at the moment is actually Rogue 1.9, because if this is Rogue 2.0 and this is what we're going to get, I think it's absolutely terrible, especially with the 6-piece Banshee.
Oh God, yeah, that is going to be abused. I can guarantee you that much.
Yeah, it's going to be game breaking. Because you can't, like, flip the tables for once. Like, a normal player, whether he's solo or whether he's in a group, he can't get that much damage. Can't. And even if you run it, correct me if I'm wrong as well, if you're running 6-piece Banshee as a manhunt, you can't have all that extra damage either, can you?
No.
It's like,
Well,
I can guarantee there's going to be. I can guarantee you there's going to be rogue police teams that'll have at least 2 to 3 Banshee players on their team.
yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you?
So,
Exactly.
I mean, going back to what I said about it being Rogue 1.9, and I have a lot of the same opinions as Marco highlighted in his video. One of the biggest things for me is they need. Oh, how can I phrase this? They need to look
I heavily been nerfed down from 2 or 3% raw damage.
Yep, I think
Bonus.
I think Kodie's splitting again.
6-piece nomad with 2 extra lives. I'm so easy. People complain saying I'm
No.
using it.
Oh, that was a big lag spike there.
Yeah.
Like
Kodie?
it's hello
You've been blipping in and out for the last minute.
again. Well, thankfully I'm recording on my end, so
so we'll put that.
Short, long story short, Banshee's really OP, and I do not want it to remain like that. Even though I'll be using it, I don't think it's fair at all.
60% potential damage without even the addition of weapon talents. That's just ridiculous. I don't care.
No, I think that's
I don't care. I don't.
Isn't it?
Yeah, sorry.
I think it is with the weapon talents, isn't it?
No. So you've got 10% to was it? 10% out of cover damage. You've got 10% against rogues. You've got 10% when you die. So that's 30%. Then you've got another 20%
out of cover.
Yeah, you've got another 10 from out of cover from the 5Ps bonus. You've then got another 20% against manhunt. So that's 60.
Yeah, 5%. 5% for every manhunt rank. So if you're on the manhunt rank, you're going to get 60%.
Yeah, so you can get
that's
60.
Going to be insane.
And then you've got, and then say you get, you say you get, you then say you've got competent responsive on your weapon, and then that's 80% damage increase. That is just, I don't care who you have on your team or how good you are. If you get a team of 3 people running that, you are going down 9 times out of 10.
I think that's an easy fix, isn't it? That's not Rogue 2.0. That's the 6-piece Banshee. So Banshee, like Kodie just said, absolutely agree. I hope that gets. I'm not going to say nerf to the ground because people go, "Oh, you're always crying for nerf." I'm not. I hope it gets balanced and is made equally as powerful as all the other gear, and not so powerful that it's the only choice.
Exactly.
I think the best thing to do for Banshee is when you go up against manhunts, the 4-piece talents don't. The 4-piece talent doesn't get activated. It skips the 4-piece and goes straight into the 5 and 6-piece.
I think it'd be better if it was just a bit more of like the set only works if you're playing solo. Like Concealed was saying before, we don't really have this like variety or really a focus to things of how teams and solo players play. And the fact that like if you get 4 people running Banshee, it's going to be absolutely insane. But if you get 1 person running Banshee against a team of 4, it's going to be not so bad considering.
Yeah.
Things like it, like whereas gear sets that scare me as a solo player is Nomad because. Like, I already struggle at the moment at going against groups for the simple fact that recovery link is a pain in my ass. Like, I'll drop someone. I have to pretty much use frag grenades. I hate using them. I get fucking called a noob for it all the time. But if I start shooting someone and I drop them, you know, just a matter of seconds, they'll push 2 buttons, recovery link, all the backup, and then I get destroyed.
Yeah.
Like, I have to rely on burst damage. And I worry as a solo player, if I go up against a team of 4 people all using 6-piece Nomad, I am screwed. Without a doubt, like there's nothing I'm going to be able to do.
Although Banshee does need to get nerfed the way it is, like so does the other classifiers, in my opinion. Because with as simple as the gear sets are, with like Nomad, you get an extra life. Like just the plain gear sets, the classifieds are just blowing them out of proportion.
Yeah.
And if you look at the past of the division, you can see once they introduced the gear sets, that's when shit started going crazy.
Yeah.
And this is that extra step that could help make it go even more crazy. You got Banshee, you got the fire turret that's going to be doing more damage than people's guns. It's It's gonna be crazy. And
I mean, have you seen the range on the fire turret? I think that's like it's like 2 or 3 reclaimer boxes combined.
like
It's like
yeah,
DZ1 to DZ9.
yeah, like yeah, they should be strong,
quite.
but right now they're making it so you're godly of what you
No,
what you're using.
I totally agree. I've been playing in the Dark Zone 1 to 14 and the 15 to 19 bracket, and things are so much more simpler because we don't have all these gear sets. That it's really enjoyable. Like I've been playing with my friend who's literally just bought the game, and I forgot how basic the game can be and how enjoyable it is, because things are getting so overcomplicated that people either don't know what to do, how to make a build. Like I get messages all the time and people asking me how to make a build.
Yeah.
But the fact is things are getting so quirky and stupid that it's becoming a little bit ridiculous to know what you're up against and things like that. So it's one of those things where the more things they add to the game, the less control they have over it. And it's just become another factor of where it's kind of like, we don't know how to control this gear set, and does this need to get balanced? Whereas if things were a little bit more simpler, like you said, if gear sets were a bit more simple, then it would be much easier, really.
Now, while we're on the topic of 1.8, this was something that I should have probably brought up in the very beginning of the discussion. Cheats and exploits, exploits and glitches. What is going on with the current state of those, and what do we think? Do you think there's going to be some new ones coming in 1.8? Is it inevitable? Yeah,
Without a doubt.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
It is inevitable.
Game, if there's any exploit of any sort, players are using them. They don't give a damn. They're gonna use them.
I mean, 1.6 had 1.6 had the Casper glitch, if I'm not mistaken, come up as soon as that came live, and then 1.7's had the sort of modding and RPM glitch. 1.5 had its fair share of glitches as well.
I just think that the bad part about all of this, and with the cheats and glitches and stuff like that, is that the game is in such a horrible state with the desync right now that it's so hard to tell the difference if someone's just lagging or if they're using an exploit of some sort. Like with the RPM glitch, oh my god, the amount of times you just get shredded instantly, and then when they patched it, you still get melted, like, because you know how you see people running in plays and stuff like that. That has the same effect that RPM glitch would basically do. So you're not knowing whether people are using it or not, and so it makes that conflict of the whole cheating thing and the servers and desync. And
definitely,
I just want to ask. Sorry, I just wanted to ask Concealed, and well, everyone here really. When's the last time you disconnected due to having a poor connection?
From the game?
Do you mean like
about a week and a half ago? I dealt it a week and a half ago because I was recording.
I was reading into it a little bit, and along with the lag and latency issues and everything like that, and one of the things that was a big problem for lag is the fact that you're going to have 24 people in the dark zone at any given time, and the fact that there's it's not a very strict cut-off point in terms of lag. Like, you can have the worst connection in the world, and the game might not kick you out the server, and the people with a good connection, they're the ones who suffer.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a really big problem at the moment.
This is something I believe was brought up on State of the Game, or it might have been on Reddit, I'm not sure, but what I read was that if just one person on the server has a bad connection, everyone on the server is going to suffer for it.
Yeah.
And now you've got and now you've got a lot of people complaining about the fact that, especially with Middle Eastern players, where they'll be using a VPN service or their phone hotspot to play the game, and it completely ruins the entire sort of structure of the server.
I think I'm not sure if you guys remember, but when 1.6 was introduced, there was a widespread of people getting poor connection to host servers. I'm not sure if you guys remember this. Yeah, and you remember how they released a quick patch saying it was just a visual glitch or something like that? I think that may be partly to them dropping some of the servers in certain areas, because ever since then, I can be in a South American server, I could be in the UK, and I won't have a poor connection to host server, even though I'm in New York. So I think it's just messed up in that type of way. But again, I have a buddy of mine who's in California, and he has god awful internet, and the stuff that he can do in my server, you'd think he was hacking. Like I don't know, he shoots people through walls and stuff like that. I don't think you should be able to play in another server other than your own with a poor connection to host, because that
I
just
totally agree.
it makes everything horrible.
Yeah.
See, for me, it's a bit difficult because obviously for me, like I live in Dubai, but all my friends that I play with are all in the UK, so I'm more or less always in the UK servers, and for me, that's always been okay. I'll have certain situations where the lag gets bad or stuff like that, but there needs to be more sort of dedicated servers towards more regional areas, because I mean, a lot of people don't realize that this game ping works on this game as well. I know, like people that play like Rainbow Six, for example, you can see you can see the ping that you are working with, depending on the server that you're playing on. But a lot of people don't realize that ping does actually play a part in this. Now, if you're an American, player on a British server, there is going to be a fairly large ping. So there needs to.
I don't think it.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I don't think it makes a big ping in this game makes a big issue, as big an issue as it does in things like Siege, because with Siege and other multiplayer games, you tend to have like a really high tick rate on the server, which is like it's getting more requests and packets sent back and forth. And again, the other issue, and I think Kodie mentioned it at the very start when we was talking about dedicated servers, is if you've got 1.4 millisecond like response time off ping.
Yeah, that's the VoIP delay.
Like 1.4 is if it's just VoIP and the rest of the data and things like that. If you've got like that's a what 1,400 ping that everybody's suffering from the get go.
Yeah,
so I think that's one of the reasons that they don't expose ping in this game anyway. But when you have that and it's tied to all the things that we've just been talking about in terms of localizing servers, dedicated servers, and I'm using dedicated servers very loosely because half of the dedicated servers for other games, they're not true dedicated servers.
Yeah.
They're one server running several instances. So it's tricky, but I don't think like ping and things like that are going to play like a huge. They will have an impact once you start getting those really, really, really bad pings. But I think overall the desync again, the netcode, I think that is fundamentally responsible for a lot of the things where, like Conceal just said then, people are saying, oh, you're using rate of fire hack, or you said about the guy who could literally shoot through, from a perception point of view, he shoots through walls. Yeah. I think it's a combination of all these things that make it so bad, and I think we need sort desync. I think we need to. Well, we're not going to be able to sort netcode, and sort the glitches and exploits quickly. Because if we can sort those, then you remember the old days. It sounds terrible, but like the original like OG days of Division.
Yeah,
back in my day.
Back in your day.
When desync wasn't as much of an issue, and when all these exploits and all these new things that are being added to the game weren't put in the additional, and again I'm sort of paraphrasing Matt Higby, but weren't putting that additional load on the server. It wasn't that bad. It honestly wasn't that bad from both a PvE and both a PvP point of view. It was quite acceptable. And when you did go on, in my instance, when I did go on to an American server, I did feel a little bit of lag, but I didn't feel like I do now when I get put on an American server and I can't kill anything.
Yeah, oh god, yeah. Now it's got to the point where it's unplayable. I think it was 2 days ago that I jumped on an American server, not intentionally as well, which was really weird because all my mates that I play with are in the UK, so you would have thought that we'd all go into a UK server, but we jumped into an American one. And I think we came across a team of rogues. I shot at him, and I was just... on my screen, everything was right next to me, and about a minute later, my team was three DZs up. We started off at DZ2, and they were in DZ5, and I was still in 2, seeing them in front of me in 2.
I've had that a few times as well.
It's just ridiculous. I mean,
really bad.
Between DZ2 and DZ5 is a long gap. Like, it's fairly big.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The worst issue for me with it all, and Conceal's probably the best, and Kodie, to be honest. To be honest, and you, Panda, but have any of you guys come across where you literally cannot do any damage to them?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So no registration, no hit registration then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is killing the DZ for me.
Yeah.
We've been on stream and I've been like, this guy's cheating or this guy's doing this or what's this guy doing so he doesn't take any damage. But the amount of like non-damage that somebody will take when I'm piling, a hexo build, high RPM weapon into his head and he's just, I'm healing. I'm like, but he'll turn around and go, brah.
And you're dead, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're... Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's that consistency for me that kind of puts me off the game. Like, I love the game, but it's the fact that, like, I'll start the game and the graphics won't load, I'll have some audio problems, I'll start shooting someone and it's not registered. It's all these consistency problems that really get to me. Like, I love the fact that the game's...
for a while as well.
Yeah, and it's that puts me off the game.
Yeah.
I agree. Now, no, I think it was you just very, very recently said that, Carl, that things need to be looked at in terms of glitches and exploits need to be looked at quick. And I think that brings us to point number 6, where those the dev team actually need to be quicker with patching exploits and glitches, because we all know the absolute fanny on that went on with patching this RPM glitch. I think I released the video on it, which we're not going to get into because that was very controversial. And I think the day I released that video is when they said they know it exists, they know it's there, hold on. And it was about 3 weeks after when we got 1.71 promising that it was done.
And it still weren't fixed.
So 3 weeks is a reasonable amount of time. I mean, would the better option not have been to just suspend loadouts till you figure that out?
That's the thing. Like, I mean, we don't really, unless any of you have got like expert, knowledge into how you fix the problem. Like, it's all just speculation. And of course, as a gamer, we don't want to be waiting. But I can say, like, from games I've played in the past, for example, World of Warcraft, a huge game. When I used to play that in my teen years, there could be a problem, and the team would literally fix it the day after because they knew if that weren't fixed, that would affect subscriptions. It's a subscription-based game. But I think really it comes down to the fact that I don't think they've got the funding to be able to push things as quick as they want to. Like, they made 330 million they made in the first week. But I think Ubisoft's just putting all the money elsewhere. Like, I remember, just on a side note, tweeting out to Frederick Thailander or whatever it's called, and I said, I'd love to have the suppression system like was in Ghost Recon, where it actually makes your screen shake and stuff like that when it's suppressed by an LMG. And he was like, oh yeah, we wanted that, but we couldn't afford it. And I'm thinking, well, why not? It's the same team. It's all a part of Ubisoft, and it's a feature. I really thought, like, have they not got the money? Like,
I think right now their lack of effort into the game all comes down to the fact that obviously Ubisoft as a company is going through some sort of some problems in itself, like the takeover problem going on with it, that they are maybe hesitant on investing in a game that currently is losing a large amount of player base. I was on Upper Echelon's stream the other day, and he wasn't playing any games. It was just a IRL stream, and we were looking at stream charts, and 3,000 players at one time, and this was in the peak evening time in the UK, so which is about peak morning time on a weekend as well. This was Saturday, so this was on a Saturday as well, and only 3,000 players. And you look back to when Division had about 20 to 25,000 players on at a certain amount of time, and I feel like what it's come down to is that Ubisoft aren't really that focused on Division anymore. Obviously, they've got new titles, like they've got the new Assassin's Creed coming out, the new Far Cry coming out, so they're Avatar coming out, so they're looking at their other titles that are going to reel in a lot of players. Because Ubisoft is big and they can afford it, definitely, because I mean they've been doing massive games for a long time.
Totally agree. I mean, it's all just business, isn't it? Really, it's just a matter of investment. Like,
Yeah.
I've got some figures here, and it says on the launch of the Division on Steam alone, there was 2.1 million players per day at peak. 2.1 million at peak, and of course, that's given the fact that it's a new game. That's really high. But then the Division lost 93% of its player base in the first 3 months, and it crashed all the way down to 143,000 daily. And now, of course, it's dropped even lower. Like you said, it's a matter of investment. For the people who are really up there in Ubisoft, they're probably thinking, yeah, we don't really want to invest that much money into the game because we're not going to get the return back.
Yeah.
And that's why, of course, we've seen the introduction of the sealed, those cosmetic cash things, which are people have to pay for them. Encrypted caches. We've got emotes and things like that, things that cost money. So they're kind of like trying to get a bit more money incoming because they don't really, all they've got is the fact that you buy the game and then that's it. Whereas other games like Skyrim, Final Fantasy, they're all subscription based. Division can't really do that. So I think it all just comes down to business. It's like who's making the decisions at the top, really.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong there, Kodie, at all. I think. Can I phrase this? So, like I've said in my recent video where it was like, my sort of take on the state of the game and issues and bugs and glitches, and it's not. It isn't a complaint, and the only thing I'm worried about with this, with the podcast now, it's saying like all of these points have been us complaining, but we're not. We're passionate about wanting to correct all these issues, but like, UB or Massive or whoever like is paying the guys at Massive, we have as the Division team, there is a live team. There is apparently developers still working in the background. There's like multiple studios. Going back to Panda's original comment about like should they be patching the exploits and glitches quicker, I think they absolutely should. Like there is no reason, even considering all those things you guys have just talked about in terms of like player fall off, investment, volatility within Ubisoft themselves with the Vivendi takeover. There is no reason. In my business, now we deal with clients, and we deal with big clients, and they will give us a massive chunk of money up front for whatever project that we do for them, and that will be paid. And we as a business, we say, okay, in December, whatever, we made whatever revenue. And then the client then gets their app, their game, their website, their whatever it is, because I work for a digital marketing agency. Yeah. We would then give them that. And now we've had our payday, right?
Yeah.
But because the client's project, and some of them for some clients we're under an SLA, which is like a service level agreement where we need to do certain things. But for a lot of them, we're not. But if something went fundamentally wrong and something that was breaking, now it's really hard for me to put it in context with like the Division. But if something happened on a website where it wasn't down, because Division isn't down when we have these glitches generally, but there was something broken that was severely impacting the customer/user experience, we would, even 2, 3, 4 months down the line, we would have to, as a team, as the developers, as the designers, as UX guys, as all those different people that make up our team, we'd have to either reschedule some work, so whether that's the Avatar work, whether it's Division 2 work, whether it's whatever it is, we would reschedule that and push it and have to make that up later because there is something wrong with our live current, something that's out there that our users are interacting with.
Definitely.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
For them not to be able to come in and do this fix quicker, and I'm going to put aside the console thing because obviously if it's a client thing, then they need to send it off to certification and whatnot. And whether it takes 2 weeks, that's debatable, or a week, that's debatable. But there is no reason that I wouldn't, if I was in Massive's shoes, and any other developer, to be honest, if something went fundamentally wrong with FIFA Ultimate Team, it would be on it. Massive should be just literally, when a game-breaking issue that fundamentally spoils the user experience, not just for PvPers, but PvE and everything else, and all the other things that sort of come off the back of it, whether it would be mod stacking and then the performance of the servers that we potentially see a degradation in, they should be jumping on that like the moment, working through the evening to solve it. Even if they give the next people the next day off or whatever, they should be stopping, putting the whole live team on that exploit fix, getting it tested, and I mean getting it tested, not this perceived. Yes, it's been through QA because you know, as I said in my video, and I'm not slagging massive off at all, and I'm on my high horse now. But like I'm honestly not wanting to like bash massive for it. But like, there's so many things with it. Yeah, we fixed this, and then like within hours, hitting the community, it's like, this isn't fixed. No different from last time.
Do you think that this is where
the moment?
Do you think that this is where the problem of them splitting it between 3 different publishing or 3 different sort of publishers comes in, or does that not really play?
I think it should be easier.
Do you think it should be easier?
Well, you would hope they would have one central testing team,
right?
One QA team. So the individual studios work on whatever they're working on, but as a QA team, you're still getting one build, still getting one final version of, or one test version rather of the division. So no, I wouldn't think that would have an impact, because we work with offshore units as well.
Yeah,
you know, there's issues coordinating that internally, but the customer, you know, our clients, would never really be aware of that.
Right. Fair enough. I've actually just realised the 40-minute mark, we left that back a little while ago. We're closing in on the 2-hour mark now. So I think let's sort of sum it all up. I've got a few questions from, obviously I posted on Twitter asking if people wanted to ask a few questions. So we'll go through those, a couple of them. A couple of them we already have. And then I think we've covered most of the points of conversation here. So one question I actually got, and I think this might be a good idea, is to keep year 2 content going. What do you guys think about exotic mods, like gear mods? I mean,
yes, I think it's a great idea.
I mean, I'm well off for it, and I think it's a great way to add more content to the game. You can get either special sort of mods and gear mods and weapon mods, or you could get a higher rolled mod, say with maybe 15% skill haste or something crazy like that.
Yeah, I would be absolutely for it. More grind, more content, more stuff to throw into my gear, more things to min-max. Absolutely. So long as it doesn't become you need that to be able to do any content, then I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I think for me the biggest thing is that it doesn't just replace the current gear instantly. Like if you ever go back and get to level 30, and you can basically just jump from world tier 1 to world tier 5.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly. And I feel like that just defeats the whole purpose of the grind. Like for us, the people that have been playing it continuously, we're always like building and grinding. Whereas if you then start again and come all the way through, people will probably just straight up miss, like, you know, the high end mods and just jump straight to exotic. So there needs to be that stepping stone. And I think before more content's added, I think they really need to, well, in my opinion, I think you need to revisit the leveling system, because it's so structured and it's so smooth all the way up to level 30. And then it becomes a case of, okay, now it's about gear score and world tiers, and everything just becomes this kind of quick, urgent mess just to try and get to end game without any actual definite structure. And I think that's every game. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
With it to end game, and you know, and Warf. I think if they made those exotics as rare as, for example, the Riven mods in Warframe, where they're really, really hard to come by, and you maybe get 1-2 stabs at them a week, and then you might not get that mod that you're looking for. That still, for me, that would give me enough draw to come into the game and grind for those. Make them super, super, super rare. Those, you know, that don't make them like the exotic guns where they're being sold at vendors and things like that. Make
it where they drop rarely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Now while we're sorry, go on, Kodie.
Sorry, I was just going to say, on that subject, I did quite enjoy, like, you know, when Barrett's Chess Piece and School of Loves and all that came out, like, I hated doing the same mission over and over, but I liked the idea of knowing what I was doing and what gear piece I was going for.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Like, yeah, I mean, like, some of my best memories back playing World of Warcraft as a teenager was the fact that you'd do a raid, you'd do like a really hard mission, and there was a slight chance that you'd get like a really exotic weapon. There was just that slight chance, and it would make you like over the moon when you did get it. And I can't say I haven't really felt that with the division. I haven't felt that sense of like, oh my god, look what I've got. I haven't felt that sense in a long time because everyone gets really good gear really easy.
See, I would have to disagree to a certain amount on that because I know when I was farming for, say, Barretts or even for Skulls, all I was getting dropped was Ninja backpacks, and now that I want Ninja backpacks, all I get dropped is Skulls and Barretts.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know what you're saying. Like,
so I feel like there definitely needs to be a balancing with their RNG because it's not as good, I guess is the best way of saying, as it should be.
It's like what Cal was saying before about stolen signal a while back, and I think that's my opinion. Is that I would love to just have missions with certain gear sets in mind where I knew I could do those ones to get the certain things. Like in general, I just hate I'll just do a bunch of these missions and a bunch of those missions and hope that I get it. It's like I like to have like a set path to know what I'm going to get, kind of thing.
And
It's going to get fundamentally worse across the border, by the way. I don't know whether we were talking about events. As we do more global events, and so like this last time, you were saying it took you like a day to get set 6-piece final measure.
Yeah.
So this global event, we're now going to be dropping Lone Star, final measure, everything. Do you know what I mean? And then the next one is going to be more 9 gear sets in there, and then the next one is going to be even more. So the further we go into these into these global events, and the further we go for these specific, not having somewhere where we can go and farm specifics, it's going to become even harder to min match your game.
Yeah,
I thought with this global events you were only going to be able to drop the 3 common, but you can get dropped the other 3, the previous 3 from boss drops. Is that
maybe?
Wait, is that
I
not?
thought that the classified caches would drop.
No, so what I remember reading, or what I remember being told, was that the classified caches will only drop the new 3 gear sets, and the boss drops might potentially drop the older ones, or they might not drop at all.
See, that's a part of the problem right there, isn't it? Is that like the information? Like I don't know about you guys, I search like YouTube and watch all the live.
There is a lack of information.
Everything's so confusing.
There is a lack of
I wish
information.
things were just a bit more precise and clear. Like, but
they throw things in there and they expect everyone to find out on themselves how to get certain stuff. Like, here you go, guys. Find out where to get the loot.
The Division YouTube channel needs like videos coming out explaining things.
They need me. They need me to run their YouTube channel, basically.
Exactly. I can't stress how annoying it is the fact that I play at level 30 in the highest bracket and I still come across people in matchmaking that don't even have modified abilities.
I know.
Like, it's like, how have you got this far in the game and don't know that you can modify your abilities? Come on, like, give more tutorials. Don't let people even matchmake until they modify their abilities. Like,
exactly.
It stresses me out so bad. Like,
to be honest, I don't think Division does a bad job on that. Because if you play some other games, like I've been playing a lot of Warframe recently. Now, in terms of like learning curve for new players and understanding what you need to do to get better, to get to do more damage, to be able to do more endgame content. Now that like I mean the like iFlynn and Tactical Potato and all like the big Warframe partners, they do an amazing job in getting content out there to actually help. And I think, again, as us as a community, whether it's Twitter, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Twitch, that we, without us, and I'm not putting me into like big YouTuber thing because it's secondary to my streaming right now, but like without the Division community, I think a lot of people would be struggling so much more than they already do.
Definitely, but I think what Kodie's trying to say is that this information needs to come more from the developer side than the actual community, because I feel like a lot of this information comes from players rather than the actual devs.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree.
That's why a lot of people love Marco Stau, because he's just pulling out all these numbers that they don't tell you about, like how responsive and competent or different.
Oh, don't worry, I've already made a video on that, so I'm gonna be Marco Stau number 2 there. I've made the whole with the animation and the numbers and everything.
Yeah, just something that should be like told to everyone, but now we're just getting YouTubers that are doing their own. hard
Yeah.
work to find out how it actually is, and then
Along
letting
with-
go.
And while we're on the, I think while we're on the topic of Endgame, I think it's a good way to end it off with the last question. Are we ever going to see an expansion to the story mode and the map? And by that, I mean Central Park. Is Central Park ever going to come?
I think it really just depends on like if they're going to commit to putting more in. I mean, I've seen a huge increase in the player base recently. Like, I had
Definitely.
a lot of people and stuff like that, and with the new updates coming in, like I've got friends that don't even like the Division because they hate RPG games and stuff like that.
Mm.
I'm seeing all kinds of people come to the game, and I think if they just do things right, like if they put haste into fixing the problems and just continue to like make improvements, because without a doubt, Road 2.0 and Update 1.8 are absolutely huge, and it's changing the game. But I think if they continue to take these steps, like the player base will grow again, and I think if the player base grows again, they're going to make more money, they're going to have more commitment to the game and things like that. And
I mean, Central Park.
I think-
Central Park is built already. I remember about a month ago, I saw someone make a video where they sort of, where you could glitch out of the area, and they
Yeah,
went
the
and they went and explored Central Park. And as far as you go to the entry of Central Park, everything's there. The structures, the ammo crates, the signboards, everything's there. Obviously, Central Park is not completely finalized, but it's there. So it just it begs the question: why are they not expanding on the story mode? Because there's still a lot of unanswered questions that we left at the end of the story. Now, I don't know if they are planning on doing this with Division 2, or would it make more sense to continue doing it on Division 1 and move Division 2 to a whole different city or a whole different sort of character's point of view?
I really, really, really hope they don't like just basically make a Division 2 so soon, because you've got to think how far this game's came since release and how many problems we've had. Like, I'd love that it'd be a Division 2, but the fact is, if they release a Division 2, there's going to be a lot of problems. And it's just going to be the same again. It's going to be a case of learning from the mistakes and things like that. I pray and I hope I'm wrong, but we've seen time and time again with every update that comes out, there's always new problems. It's kind of inevitable, I guess. But I really hope they just continue to work on this one instead of just being like, oh, let's just make a new one in the hope that we can just make a bunch of sales again and make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And I really hope they just stick with it, because this game, and this is the thing that gets to me the most, is why I'm so passionate and why people always say I'm just hating on the game. It's the fact that this game has got so much potential for other game modes, the map expansion, story expansion, and the rest of it. It's the fact that the potential is kind of going wasted, really.
But no, it's definitely been fun, guys. Thank you, all of you, for dropping by. Thank you, Carl, for
Thanks for having me.
providing the Discord and the platform for us to do this.
No problem.
I'm gonna make the editing.
Perfect.
All right, perfect. Yeah. Cheers, guys. Thank you so much for dropping by. By this time, I'll probably say be sure to like and subscribe, but I'm hoping you guys have. And yeah, so I'll hopefully see you guys in the comment section tomorrow, because there is going to be a little bit of we're going to have a little bit of controversy with some of the things we said, and some people are going to be a little bit butthurt. But hey,
don't expect me to listen to it all though.
Yeah,
but
they're
hey.
not gonna even watch. Just gonna comment.
Yeah, exactly, right? They're going to watch the first 5 minutes, hear us talking, and be like, yeah, fuck you. All right, boys. It was great chatting to you, lads. And I'll catch you guys later.
It's
All
been
right,
a
guys.
pleasure. Thanks.
Catch you in a bit.
See you later, guys.
Bye.